Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, did we just see the best outing yet for Texas Tech this year? And will they need to follow it up with the next best outing yet to take down undefeated BYU? Reacting to the big win over K-State next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's reaction episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. Welcome back to West Texas with a win in tow. 43-20, good guys over purple guys as the Red Raiders bring a drought to an end against K-State. Want to talk with you about what this meant well beyond just some of the obvious, and of course, how this came to be as Texas Tech wreaking havoc in all directions. Kind of one of those days, Chris, where it felt like everybody got a little piece of the pie as far as an opportunity to make a play. Both sides of the ball carriers, pass catchers, linebackers, defensive linemen, defensive backs. I mean, it was all over for the Red Raiders, and that's how you wind up as a 23-point winner on the road. And I want to ask you in just a moment, this Saturday for Texas Tech, did we see them at their best that we've seen so far this season? But in general, Chris, that one had to feel good. Always fun to win on the road, obviously in front of another crowd and in a place and against a team where you haven't done it often or in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you hadn't won in Manhattan for a bit. No, I mean,
you hadn't heard that, huh? Nobody had.
Well, I mean, and it's been a thing. I mean, I said it on the field when I was doing the video for our feed there that it's been a house of horrors for you in recent, a decade plus. And it wasn't, and you think whenever Barron throws that interception in the first, like that kind of weird screen pass that you're like, okay, here we go. You doink an extra point. This is what kind of, but this team is different. And this team, I tried to say that in the variety of things that we did last week. You haven't taken a team up there since 2008 that's been this good. And there's some common themes between those two teams now. But I think Joey said it best to me right after the game, because beating Kansas State, look, I mean, I got accused of gassing Kansas State up, or it's like they're not that good. And yet I think we did see that they're scary. You are better than they are. But the problem is, it's like you're playing against a culture when you play that team or program. And over the years, we tried to sum it up simply by saying last week, they simply block and tackle better than you whenever you play them. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. That this is a Bill Snyder and a Chris Kleiman coach team, and they've won three Big 12 championships. You haven't even sniffed one. And I think Joey said it to me after the game was over. It's like when we played them a few years ago, once in Manhattan and then obviously once in Lubbock. Neither time, and one of them you had Barron came out and Jake Strong had to finish out the game, but you weren't tough enough to beat them in those times yet. They had a better culture and better personnel, and it worked together. And you just weren't there yet. I mean, last time you went up there, you turned it over 4 times. Donovan Smith put up some numbers, and then obviously the time in Lubbock, I mean, Avery Johnson, it was kind of his coming out parties. He has 5 rushing touchdowns coming off the bench. And I think, as they noted in the telecast, he felt like he should have had a 6th. So because you are in a much better place now, you are much tougher, and you're older and you're experienced. And I think there's a lot of scar tissue that you're benefiting from. But like we have seen in most of these games, you have an ability to outlast an opponent. You really, it's interesting. The message boards want everybody fired, in the first half, and then by the end of the deal, it's like, hey, cheers, man, we did it, because you're like, You're outlasting teams, and that's been a common theme of what you've been able to do here. You almost did it against Arizona State. That was a bit different, but you still, again, you had the 3-point lead with 2 to go. But your games against Utah and Kansas and Oklahoma State and obviously against Kansas State here, you kind of get into the game and then you just kind of lean on them and then you pull away. I mean, Houston, same way. But you're right, Cowan. I mean, I think this was and there's some. I want to get into the history part of this thing at some point. So I don't know if we want to do that now or we want to kind of get to the various.
Let's get it out of the way, man, because they love to talk about the history on the broadcast over and over, and this drought is now done. So tell me.
Well, I mean, it's fun for me that's been around this thing for a long time to see guys like, just throw some names out at you that are directly involved into what you've got going on here. I mean, Antonio Huffman, a part of the program, Darcel McBath, a part of the program, Clay McGuire, a part of the program, Cody Campbell and John Sellers were both there and on the sidelines before the game and after the game and near the locker room after it was over. And that group, they were a part of those 04 and 08 wins up there. And they all kind of were like, man, we used to just hammer these dudes. We used to just this wasn't really like a thing. But you have to appreciate how big a deal it was yesterday to go in there and win a game like that whenever you have the past decade and a half of, and it really hadn't mattered where these games were played. Yeah, you Cliff beat Kansas State one year, but it's just been a kind of a lopsided affair. And I think that you tried to put something together, in the portal class and in the offseason, and Joey's trying to build a culture that rivals what that program has been about because it's been consistent. Now, they're having a rough year this year. They've got some injuries, and they're just not quite as good as everybody would have thought. Neither is Iowa State and some of the other programs, but it was just a win that you could really sink your teeth into when you have the historical context to it, because a 43-20 win nationally, which now Kansas State's going to be 4-5, people are going to look at it and go, but if you're in this fight with this group and you're around this program, you understand what it meant. And then to see Joey McGuire pop out of the line, I'm sitting there waiting to do my post-game interview. He pops out, he's got this shirt on, and I was like, is this like a wrestling t-shirt? Is this like what is going on? There's this old picture on his shirt, and it's got an Adidas logo and all that. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, okay, kind of looks familiar, but it's a black and white picture. And that was a picture of Kirby as a player at Kansas State. And I just thought Joey doesn't miss a beat. It's a beautiful thing in that all the little things are touched on. He's a people guy. He's a connector, and it fits so well. And he almost gets emotional talking about Kirby Hocutt after the game was over when he was talking about the shirt. He's like, man, this isn't meant to be disrespectful against Kansas State. This is a tip of the cap to my AD, who I consider a friend. And, Kirby's, as we know, he's been through the ringer too, man. And with the football program specifically. And you actually made a move with Matt Wells when Kansas State was the opponent. Kansas State was the reason that Matt Wells was ultimately, let go. But I just thought all of it, and I'm sitting there and President Skuvenik is just beside himself, so excited. Kirby, Dusty Womble, Mike Wallace. All the folks that have been a part of the putting it together, but also they're in it, man. They are in it, and they're there and present. And it is just, it's fun to see them enjoying the fruits of their labors, because you can make a lot of money or have a lot of money, but what these guys are trying to help this program do, and the university and all that, there's just a feeling that you get when you win that you can't go get anywhere else. There's nothing like sports and winning that can fill this competitive void, because it's hard. and it's hard to get done. It's hard to win football games. It's hard to win big, and you had a bit of an opportunity yesterday, and you took advantage of it, and you did so in commanding fashion because when you're sitting there and it's 7-0 and it's 12-7, and you're going, nobody was thinking you're going to blow these guys out, and yet this is what happened. I was like, I should have filmed it, but when watching their people file out of there, it was like the Utah game. Inject it into my veins because this is a movie that I never thought I'd saw the ending to, and yet here we were because of a well-rounded performance, as you touched on, man.
Yeah, well-rounded is a key part of this, and that's why I want to ask you if you feel like this was Tech's best Saturday so far this year. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. That's why I want to ask you if you feel like this was Tech's best Saturday so far this year. I know you're taking on a 4-4 opponent who's not having the type of year they wanted, but it was very well-rounded. And I thought you won where it matters most. You're winning in the trenches. You're winning with the ground game. You're winning with your defense. You're winning with pressuring the quarterback. You're winning with taking the football away. You're winning with some big plays offensively. It wasn't just a grinded-out kind of thing. I think you had, let me see here, through the air you had a 30, a 42, a 38, a 26. On the ground you had a 41, a 34. You were busting some big ones. So I don't know. Do you look at this as Tech's best Saturday of the season so far as a complete team kind of effort?
I think it has to be this one or the Utah game. I really do. The Utah game is a bit different in that Will Hammond comes in and he's a part of the. But I just thought the way you ran the ball for the most part, the way you were taking the ball away, the way you were really. You gave up a few things, your defense did, but you settled down and really eliminated those once you gave them up. I thought that's the next closest thing. But yeah, this one, because it wasn't perfect, it wasn't squeaky clean. There were some issues that you had, and you got careless with the ball a few times, or just catch a bad break. I thought the game was horribly officiated. I don't mind saying that, and maybe Kansas State may be saying the same thing, but I don't mind saying that. I just thought it was. Some of the replays, the non-calls, we're going to elect to pick up a flag after we throw it, and we're not going to. And there's no understanding or description of. And I don't know what the TV folks are saying because they don't matter. It's a matter of what's the league saying. Why is that one not a touchdown? Why are you picking up a flag? Why are you? I just think the transparency is severely lacking in some of that. But back to the point, I just thought. Because we said this, where is that running game at? Like, you're going to have to run it when they know that's what's coming, and you were able to do that. You had explosive runs. You kind of grinded them a bit. Again, not perfect. You didn't bust off 300 yards, but you rushed for 187. I will take it. You did it with scheme. You did it with playmaking. You had some explosive runs, and I thought your offensive line played pretty well. I really did. And you had a few drops on offense, but you also had some explosive plays. It's nice to see Terrence Carter back. I wrote this on RedRaidersports.com earlier, but it'll get lost. One of my favorite things about this team is watching that dude in the open field just truck people, man. It's like he just puts his Earl Campbell jersey on. He's got that ball covered up, and he's like head hunting. Give me somebody else to get in my way. I am going. The train is coming down the tracks. I just love that kid, man. He's playing through so much, and he's such a mismatch. We maybe didn't get a whole lot right in the summertime, although maybe we did. But he was one that we definitely had right on what he brings to this team. I just think he's a mismatch, and him being in there in your running game and then him being in there with the passing game, I mean, he's a connector. I just think he kind of is one of these catalysts that kind of seems to help make it all gel together and make it work pretty well. And maybe I'm overstating that or overrating that component, but I don't know if I am. But it's just – and I mean, I don't – Joey said it to me after the game too, just to your point. The defensive line gets a lot of credit, and they are allowing these linebackers to do what they're doing. But I think his quote was "fear the stash," because this trio of linebackers, and you mentioned that Jacob is getting a lot of the credit, and deservedly so. The 2 forced fumbles, like his ability to punch the ball, it's just elite.
It's crazy.
Like, his forced fumble numbers are he's close to rivaling Dwayne Slay, which I never thought I'd see this. And but those, how they achieved the forced fumble are just vastly different. Dwayne would just like delete, you know, and I've seen people say like, in these rules these days, man, he get called for targeting, and maybe so,
yeah.
But he just separate the ball from the ball carrier and like let somebody else pick up the mess because he just would unload on somebody. Jacob is where he's supposed to be. There's a skill to it. He punches that ball out, and it turns what is a minimal gain at times, and then that ball's out, and you jump on it, and you're running off to the sideline going, "Look, Mom, look what I got! Look what I found." He's just special. But he would be the first one to tell you he's got 2 dudes in 6 and 13 that are around him that are very good too, man. I mean, very good. They are smart. That they just, I don't know, man. It all. I think Joey kind of used the analogy of like synchronized swimming, and that's a great analogy because it's all like in unison and they're all working together well. It's just, but you know, they all. I mean, Ben had an interception, Curry had a scoop and score, Jacob had 2 forced fumbles. That they make the tackles when they're supposed to, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to watch, man. When it's working,
sure is. And by the way, you already mentioned President Skuvanek once, and I don't know how far you've gotten into the television broadcast, but on the John Curry scoop and score, there was a man emerging from the back line. I thought was about to chest bump Curry. I'm thinking, who is that? Oh, it's the university president. Skuvanek was fired up back there.
I love that, man. I mean, I do, because his heart is in the right place. This is, I heard, speaking of game day, and we'll get to that. We've got all week to talk about all that coming up. But like Nick Saban did a thing on game day Saturday morning. He was talking about what we have tried to kind of touch on in various times, like with the chaos going on in the coaching industry and people getting fired and all these huge buyouts and all that stuff. And like, what's a good job versus what's not. It is, because I think the conversation was, man, Ole Miss may be a better job than LSU because of what we're about to talk about. Yeah. But President Skuvanek and Cody, who's the chairman of the Board of Regents, and Kirby Hocutt, and then Joey and all these things, they are so aligned. And you just hope it stays that way for a long time, because you may deal with hiccups and you may deal with some ups and downs and all that stuff. But as long as that stays the way it is, it's a formidable, like, opposition to pose to the entire league, because everything is rowing the same direction and they all get it. Athletics being the front porch of the university. I mean, you don't think after what you're enduring right now or what you're going through right now with a football season and game day coming and you being in the top 10, and then with what maybe is on the basketball, you don't think enrollment's going to go up? I mean, it all works hand in hand, man. And they all are on the same page. They all get it. This, even if this wouldn't have worked this year, because I think large in part we can say that it has worked to this point. This wasn't a one-time deal. We're not just going to spin the wheel one time and see where it lands. No, you're going to keep spinning the wheel and keep contending, keep trying to push and maintain. And it's going to get harder because other people are going to be like, we want to do this too. And all that. But yeah, I appreciate you mentioning President Skuvanek, because I mean, his heart of gold, his guns were all the way up, man. And Kirby too. I know that's got to be a weird dynamic for Kirby, but he no one enjoyed that victory more than he did yesterday, and it was awesome. And that's why I appreciated what Joey did, because he knew that too.
Yeah. I mean, there are presidents somewhere in America that hate their athletics department or hate having to acknowledge that sports does anything for the university. Thank God that's not the situation here. And it may have been previously. I don't know, but it ain't anymore. Hey, I want to get back to the defense for just a minute. I know I've got linebackers on the screen, and that's sort of what everything rotates around. But you said a minute ago, like, it wasn't a perfect day for the defense, but there was a perfect stretch almost, or I really thought in the fourth quarter. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app, so before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. You said a minute ago, like, it wasn't a perfect day for the defense, but there was a perfect stretch almost, or I really thought in the fourth quarter, this is the kind of team you want to have. We saw offensively it getting a little stalled out in the fourth quarter. I think from about the, 10 or 11 minute mark or so. Texas Tech had 2 punts, and you had a fumble in between offensively. And Chris, I don't know like what life I'm living, but I'm sitting there watching the game thinking, no problem. I'd love to have the defense back on the field. I'd love to get the defense back on the field. And what do? They collect 3 stops. They collect a fumble and a touchdown, and they just do what this defense has done. And, man, that is such a luxurious feeling late in the ball game when you can turn to a group like that. Shout out to them. Shout out to a couple more individuals. Cole Wisniewski lowering the boom. Good night. Don't come in his zone. And Bryce Pollock, who has had some great games this year, probably his best of the season. He had a pick, had a fumble recovery, I believe, as well. And then he also had a really outstanding, I think, solo tackle in the backfield. Just a day for so many guys on that side.
And you know, a guy we haven't probably talked about a ton, but you know who I thought showed up big time was Amir Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, he should have been credited with a forced fumble. I don't know what. Yeah, I heard the explanation, and it wasn't quite tucked away. Whatever. Yeah, I can't. Targeting and what a catch is and what's not. It just always seems it's convenient sometimes, but whatever. But I thought Amir Boyd showed up big time. And it just goes to show you too that when you start looking back at this like portal class in general, like in broad terms, they really hit on the whole thing. They're just I think you could make the argument, okay, maybe the offensive line part of it wasn't as good as maybe you would have hoped because of the Zambrano injury. Jados has been playing through something. He didn't finish the game. Yet Cash Cleveland comes in, and you're no worse for the wear.
Yeah, I got to be honest, Chris. I started really watching 52 when I knew he was in there. I wasn't seeing a whole lot of drop-off, if any.
Well, he's like a bucket full of sand or a giant trash can full of dirt. He's hard to move. He's very smart.
Great leverage.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, very similar to Davion Carter. They may not look like in some ways like it's supposed to, maybe with height and all that, but they're very smart. They're very technically sound, and it works. And so, you know, Cash Cleveland, you've got a several years left with him. But back to the point about it's like, because what you're saying with this is a well-rounded game. it's just a perfect blend of your returners, and it's a perfect blend of the roster being touched by the portal class really at every position group, except for interior linebacker and except for quarterback. Although the quarterback, that position was touched a bit, and you needed that last week with Mitch Griffiths. But still, the point still stands. It's just been and that's why Joey deserves a lot of credit. He's meshed it together so well. I mean, watching Cole Wisniewski who recovered one of those fumbles and sprint to hand it to Jacob Rodriguez is like, hey man, you dropped this. This is your ball. like that. That is beautiful music when I'm listening to it right there. Just because it just there's a couple things too. Like I want to talk about the roster a bit. There are a few. These are some but Barron. I was really happy for him. Okay, this is a player. You could tell he's still battling through it. I think you're just going to have to deal with this.
Yeah, he's going to be.
But he is a gutsy, tough, and like he is trying to be present. And even though he doesn't probably feel great, he's trying to. This is his last shot at this deal. And so shout out to you, man, because you're the one that broke the streak. And he was showing up at Texas Tech games with the Graham Harrell jersey on, and that's the last guy that had beat Kansas State at Manhattan. So hopefully there's some kid showing up to the game this weekend wearing a number 2 that will play in a Red Ray uniform 15, 20 years from now, whatever it is. But I was not being corny. I mean, just proud of a kid like that. He's taken a lot of grief, a lot of doubt. He can't stay healthy. He's not as good as the backup. He's not this, he's not that. But, hey, man, you don't turn it over. You throw for about 250, throw for a couple of touchdowns, and his presence alone I just think is worth a lot. The other one is people will forget about this because it ultimately didn't matter. Stone Harrington,
yes,
he has been through it, okay? He has endured some time here. They bring in a portal guy, speaking of that class, to compete with him, take his job, however you want to phrase it. And Upton Belenfant has been really consistently good whenever he's missed the one extra point. But other than that, he's been just this competitor in practices and in the middle of the week, and the competition just continues, right? I don't know if we have decided this yet or not, okay? But the point is that is a young man that used to get in his own head, and he had to deal with a sports psychologist, and he needed to learn how to flush it. Very talented kid. It's a bad snap on the extra point. The snap's off to the side. You drop it down, and the timing's all off. He clanks it against the goalpost. Kenny Perry goes over there, and because again, you're in it. You are in this game, and it is stressful, and everything matters. And he was very frustrated with Stone Harrington. Doesn't want to hear about a bad snap or the timing being an excuse. And knowing what you know about Stone, like, okay, where's he at going to be mentally? And for that kid to come out there and make 2 makeable kicks and then bomb a 55-yarder through the uprights, really twice. The first one didn't count because they called timeout. I just that's what's very pure in the world, man, in sports. That kid fought through it. He took an ass chewing, and maybe he deserved it, but he came back smiling, and everybody's in a better spot for it. But I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that because 55-yarders, man, on the road and in some windy conditions and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not going to get used to that. That's still big time stuff.
55 at home in a dome. I mean, I'm still celebrating. That's just crazy. So he had 2 29s and a 55 that were good for him. I'm glad you bring him up because before we get out of here, I just wanted to include the special teams because they do represent what I feel like overall is a team that is not based in smoke and mirrors. Jack Burgess as well. I mean, you're winning some field position battles and then letting your defense go to work a few times as well. And the things we continuously see pop up this season give me a lot of optimism about your ability to compete on an elite level. There are going to be teams that are probably more talented than you out there, and who knows what could be left this regular season or maybe even into the postseason. But Chris, the things you do well will travel. And I don't just mean from Lubbock to elsewhere, but from Saturday to Saturday to Saturday to Saturday. And so I think that gives you a lot of optimism about how consistent you can be as a football team. And once again, you can include just about every angle of this team if you're discussing what led to this big, big win.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what you try to put together. You try to put together a team without many questions and a whole lot of answers. And this was a day where everybody was answering a question. I mean, and I still think back, like, can you even imagine if you still had Skylar Gill-Howard and Quentin Joyner had been healthy and Barron had not gotten hit on that first play of the game and Hammond is still standing over there? I mean, there's still a few things where but this is the sport. I mean, I'm sure Kansas State's saying the same thing about Dylan Edwards, wishing that they had him, because that was the one thing that got you yesterday was a little, speaking of smoke and mirrors, it was out of necessity, and it was a quarterback that is just lightning fast. But I mean, that's what, and Kleiman said it after the game, like we felt like we had to really, our QB run was our advantage. And it was. There was some misdirection and some different things, and they got you a few times, and then he makes a few plays too. But other than that, they just didn't have much of a base offense to lean on. They couldn't run it in a traditional sense. They couldn't drop back and just lead a drive and nickel and dime and all that. It had to be kind of a smoke and mirror type thing because I think you're just so sound and well-rounded on defense. And, we hadn't talked about David Bailey. I mean, his Micah Parsons-esque, just off the edge.
You're talking step-for-step pursuit with a quarterback to the side. Yeah, a few times I'm like, he's not losing any ground.
And leads the country in sacks. Crazy. And if we would have talked about that in the summer and said that through 8 games of the season or 9 games through the season, and he would lead the country in sacks, you're probably saying he's the defensive player of the year. And yet here we are 30-ish minutes into the podcast, and we barely talked about the guy because there's so many other guys that deserve it. Romello Height, forces that one fumble that Curry scoops and scores. And Lee Hunter, so here's what I like about Lee Hunter. He chirps the entire game. I had somebody ask me, hey man, I think it was like, hey, I was talking to someone on the sideline, and like for $100,000, and if he got 10 yards on you, would you just sit there and let him do the Oklahoma drill on you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, if you up the price, maybe. But so here's what I was going to say about Lee Hunter. These are things that aren't. He's going to take up for his guys. So he got into talking. They were talking like 79, I think, as a Kansas State offensive lineman. He was trying to play bully ball and like leaning and laying on your guys and telling them about it. And he look at the tech sideline, and he's kind of quite animated and all that. And it happened to be when Lee Hunter was out when he got rotated out. And he's watching this, and I see him kind of very subtly shake his head and point, like, okay, I'm about to come back out there. And then some of these turnovers start to happen, and he's like going to find 79 and be like, I told you, don't mess with my dude.
I noticed that. Yeah.
He's like the sheriff. Again, he's not showing up in these box scores, but again, he kind of allows a lot of what's going on here, and I just don't know if he's getting enough credit. But that's the beautiful thing about what you've put together is that it all is so beautiful. Like roster construction is, chef kiss, man. Yes. Because everything plays off of the other, and it kind of exploded on Kansas State yesterday in the second half.
What a fun day.
Yeah.
I know what their record is, but if you're a Red Raider, you know what this win means beyond just beating a 4-4 football team. Means a whole lot more, and it sets up the biggest week in Lubbock football-wise in just about 2 decades. So I can't wait to get into all that's coming our way this week with you, Chris, on our next episode as we set the table for College Game Day to return to West Texas, and also an unbeaten team coming to town. So it's going to be a whale of a week. Appreciate your time today for some reaction to the win, and looking forward to the next one, man. We'll see you then.
I will try to remind everybody every time we do one of these shows this week to try to enjoy this week, regardless of how it plays out or whatever. Just enjoy it. You've waited a long time for this. Sink your teeth into it. Appreciate it. You don't know when you're going to get another one of these. And some of you that are out there listening, and like Cowan and I, you kind of live for this, man. This is what gets you going and what makes this stuff so much fun. So, man, try to enjoy it, man. Soak it up, whatever that looks like for you. Try to enjoy and soak it up, however you want to do that. But this is we're set for a fun one this week for sure, man.
Best way to do it is right here with us.
That's
in the way. Subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Appreciate you guys for being out there as always. Thanks to the everydayers, of course, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that outlaw crew. It was essentially a trust tree on Saturday within which we could safely share opinions about Mike Pereira. So thanks to those who were enjoying that conversation with me, and looking forward to conversation all week as we get ready for a big one, to say the least, coming up next Saturday morning right here in the LBK. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.